Hello, Margaret.
Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me today
Pleasure.
about critical creativity.
Yeah.
Could we start by you telling us what critical creativity means to you?
Yeah. So I think for me, critical creativity now means to me a bringing together of everything about me and within me. And that's kind of bringing together of my mind, my body, my soul, and trying to work with all of that together, and work with that with other people as well.
It's wonderful. Can you tell me a bit more about how you do that?
I think because I've always spent a lot of time in my head, and what I'm trying to do now is get out of my head a little bit. And so what I've found with some of the elements of critical creativity is particularly, I guess, what draws me is the kind of movement and stillness, because what I've been trying to do is silence the chatter in my head to some extent, because what that allows me to do is I guess see myself more clearly, but it also gives me the space to work with other people and use stillness with them as well, so that we can, I guess, so we can have space to really try and develop whatever it is that we're trying to do. And I guess I'm at the moment I'm working with a new team of people, and so I've been, I think I said to you the other day, I've been tinkering around the edges of trying to see how, or trying to think about and work with perhaps some of the critical creativity in working with that team and us developing together as a group of people in a very traditional environment.
I'm really fascinated to know how you bring about that stillness in the everyday working context.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, for me it's about being conscious of creating moments of stillness, I guess, and that's in some ways about using silence more effectively than I have done previously, because my tendency in the past has always been to talk 19 to the dozen and not leave any space for silence, being a bit uncomfortable with that. So what I'm trying to do now is really consciously, both when I'm by myself and when I'm with other people and with the team I'm working with, is to really just be silent as a starting point. Just be quiet and let the space exist for either other people to contribute something, or just perhaps for some ideas to flow. And I think in terms of, say, I work in an office. It's in an urban area, so there's not particularly nice spaces really close by that I can access. There are some, but what I've started to do is try and bring some of the outside in. So even just with having some flowers in my office every week, so that there's some natural life around, as well as being confined within office spaces.
And is there an impact on doing that, bringing in natural objects?
There is, for me, myself, it creates an environment where I think I'm conscious of that I have the ability to be creative when I'm surrounded by a whole lot of again, I guess, traditional kind of working of producing reports and producing documents and things. But I look at the flowers and it reminds me that actually there are other things in the world, and everyone who comes into my office comments when I have, and particularly when I've had a new bunch of flowers, because I tend to get kind of bright colours, oranges or yellows, and sunflowers and things like that. So everyone who comes into the space comments on what I've done in making that space my own, I guess. It's quite different to the other offices.
Yeah. So you've been talking about movement in stillness.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your use of the critical creativity ideas that have been articulated in frameworks and in papers?
So I think reading the paper that you put on the blog, the Educational Action Research paper, again, it's really made a lot more sense to me now than it ever did before.
Right.
And I think, because, critical creativity, when I was first introduced to it, challenged me hugely, trying to understand what it all meant. And I think what that paper does is, as you and Brendan talk through what you did, it kind of, I can picture it, I can visualize it, I can see what you did, and the examples I think that are in there help me to kind of grasp, well, oh, now I see what you're getting at in that. So, spiraling through turbulence, that always kind of, for me, engendered, I guess, a bit of a feeling of discomfort, because it was about turbulence and it was about chaos, and to me it was, that's a place I don't really want to go, whereas now I see it much more as I guess in some ways an energizing force. It is about using the turbulence to move forward and to be positive, and it doesn't have a negative connotation for me anymore, I guess. I think being able to engage more now, I guess, with the critical creativity framework in the way it's presented, and the spirals that I hadn't really seen before, how that could work. But now I see how it all kind of, it's the movement and the energy. I see much more the movement in it now, and the flow, and the way that bringing everything together, and within that spiral, it is, as you describe it, it's a dance, which I never saw before, but I'm starting to see that now, starting to see how you weave in and out amongst the different elements, with the ultimate aim being of human flourishing, and how you can get to that from this kind of spiraling and movement, and the constant development, I suppose, that you never stop. You never reach a state of human flourishing and just stop. It's always a state of becoming.
Yes, absolutely. So you've mentioned two of the principles, spiraling through turbulence and movement and stillness. I've just noticed what a lovely balance that is. Just the ones that you've talked about. They come from the methodological framework of critical creativity, and there's a theoretical framework as well, which is shows the location of critical creativity in critical social science. How do you find that framework?
More challenging to get to grips with, I think. I've always found the critical social science challenging to get to grips with, and really embody, I suppose. So I do find it more challenging. I have looked at it several times in terms of critical creativity, and the idea that it helps to translate critical social science into practice. Haven't quite perhaps made that connection yet.
Yes.
So I'm still kind of working through that and challenged by it.
I'm very struck by the fact that you've read the Dancing with Stones paper, methodological principles paper.
Yes.
Obviously more than once,
Yes.
and that by revisiting it is suddenly starting to kind of fall into place and fall into body.
Yes.
As it were.
Yes, I think that's very true. I think each time I revisit it, and I remember reading your methodological walk through the forest initially quite some years ago, and really thinking I have no idea what's going on here. But each time now that I revisit it, and as I say with the Dancing with Stones, I get a little bit more each time, and it makes a little bit more sense each time, and I guess I'm able to starting to bring the strands together, I think. And thinking about creativity in the broadest sense, as opposed to creativity being about using craft or whatever, but actually creativity in its fullest sense of using all your senses and being able to engage with anything that might help to bring things together for you or progress or develop.
Fantastic, Margaret. Thank you so much. Thank you.